YouTube family. So we're going to go for a little ride today. Take dog for a walk, do some shopping, and I'm going to take you along. Now you'll notice the Puerto Rican flag on my dashboard. I am not Puerto Rican. So why would I have a Puerto Rican flag on my dashboard? That's a great question. The reason why I have a Puerto Rican flag on my dashboard is because one of the things my perps do is they like to have a Puerto Rican flag on their dashboard. Whether they're white, black, or brown, they will have this flag on their dashboard. A lot of one-lighters have the flag on their dashboard. A lot of head scratchers. Something they do to me is they scratch the side of their head, have the flag on their dashboard. So, the motel I'm staying at, I come out this morning, get ready to go, and what do I see parked just a little bit away from me? Let's see if we can capture this. I think you guessed it. That car there. What does he have hanging? The Puerto Rican flag. Black car with red, black and red. Satanic. So as I mentioned in my previous video, I've decided to go on the offensive. They like to call me boss at stores. So I walk in and I say, hey, boss. I make sure I call them boss before they call me boss. I scratch my head before they scratch their head. And of note, at the motel I'm staying at now, it's an older couple that owns and manages the motel. These people, by the way, like to headlight me a lot. The folks who live there, they're not out right now. But the older couple, they have two grandsons that live here with them. They're in their 20s. They go to college. They like to do the head scratch. And one of them has the Puerto Rican flag on their dashboard, not hanging from a rear view window. So, like I said, I go on the offensive. I said, I'm going to have some fun with this. So I asked his brother, the guy without the Puerto Rican flag, I said, hey, man, I see your brother's got a Puerto Rican flag on his dashboard. I thought you all were from India, not Puerto Rico. He said, we are from India. And I said, so why does your brother have the Puerto Rican flag on his dashboard? And the young man tells me that they found the flag. So I waited several days until I saw the young man with the flag in his truck. And I said to him, didn't let him know I spoke to his brother. And I said, hey, I noticed you got a Puerto Rican flag on your dashboard. I thought you were Indian, not Puerto Rican. And he said, yeah, I am Indian. So I said, what's up with the Puerto Rican flag? He said, oh, someone gave it to me, so I figured I'd put it on my dashboard to honor them. And I said, oh, right on, right on. You have a good day. So it is a little bit of fun, some of the things I do to have fun with it. So, as I mentioned, I get the Puerto Rican flag almost everywhere I go, whether the people are black, white, or brown, along with the head scratch. So the new me decided I'm going to order a Puerto Rican flag from Amazon.com, and I'm going to put it on my dashboard. Why not? Let's have fun, right? So that's what I did. So this morning, we're headed back over to the Hop River Walk. Oh, You didn't see that? There's an eyeball on the neighborhood watch sign. Maybe we'll capture that on the way back. So here we are. Let's see what we have here. We'll do a quick drive around before we park. See what we got here. No Jeeps. As I mentioned before, generally speaking, will be a Jeep and or a police officer. When I come out, let me park here. And I'm going to turn my wheels to the right. Something else my perps like to do. Turn their wheels to the right. And here we are. Oh, I see a Targeted Journey. Hello, Targeted Journey. I live in Connecticut. Thanks for joining me today. Give me a moment here, Targeted Journey, while I hop on out of the car and get dogs situated. So no police officers yet. No Jeeps. We got our tires turned. There we go. That's a bad shot. Give me a minute here while there it is. So I got the tires turned. Bear with me. So, YouTube family, let's go for a walk. And here we go. It's a nice day today. It's probably in the low 40s, which to me is pleasant. Once we hit 60 degrees, just a bit too warm for me. Come on, puppers. So yes, I've gone on the offensive. They turn their tires when they park around me. I turn my tires. They have Puerto Rican flags on their dashboard or hanging from the rearview mirror. I put a Puerto Rican flag on my dashboard. They scratch their head. I scratch my head. I used to get the double cough many years ago. They stopped that. I used to just cough back. They like to do what annoys you. If anything freaks you out or gets you paranoid, they'll keep it up. But they haven't let off with the Puerto Rican flags yet, even though I use the Puerto Rican flag. And here we go. This is called the Hop River. It's a peaceful place. Let's see what kind of perps we got here today. I think I dressed a little bit too warm. I've got a sweatshirt on. I'm originally from Los Angeles. So back in those days, anything under 70 degrees was cold. Got to have a sweater on. 65 degrees, got to have a sweater. 58 degrees, got to have a jacket and gloves and a hat. And I've been back east now in New England since the end of 21. So I've done 2 winters here. And now, once it hits 50, that's plenty warm enough for me. So we got some benches up ahead. We'll see if there's any perps waiting there. Come on, pup, let's go. Is my family in on my targeting? My family put me into this program. My mother and her parents were Satanists. My mother confessed to me shortly before she died. She begged for my forgiveness, and I forgave her. I wrote a book about my childhood. It's available at Amazon, and the name of the book is Targeted Tommy, son of a Satanist and child of MK Ultra. So my mom's dad was a high-level Mason and Italian Mafia. And looking into his background, I'm convinced he was a spook, that he was CIA, looking at some of the places he used to work and the jobs he had at Columbia University. And we all know that the CIA and the Mafia go together like hand in glove. CIA like people like Mafia, where they can put a bullet in your head and go home and sleep like a baby. So yeah, my mom confessed to me shortly before she died, and I forgave her. Well, it looks like everyone signed off, so I'll talk to myself until someone signs on. But yeah, MK Ultra. Why do I believe I'm a child of MK Ultra? I remember when I was 4 and 5 years old. I know the ages are correct because of where we lived. It was an apartment we had. When I turned 6, we moved into a house. When I was 4 and 5, I remember seeing 2 people come into my room at night, pull me out of bed. I don't know where they took me, probably an apartment or 2 over, and they used to put me in this chair, strap me in, and they used to have these flashing white lights and flashing red lights, and that's what they would make me look at, flashing lights. And at that time as a boy, I had seizures, which is a side effect of the white lights. And many years later, as an adult, I started researching MK Ultra. I learned that that was a component of the program. Oh, you haven't gone anywhere. Okay. It said 0 people. I guess they must have dropped you off. The live chat will not stay up, so I need to check it periodically. As far as my family goes, I have a sister, 9 cousins, and 1 aunt. That's still alive. I had 2 aunts that are dead. And I was diagnosed with cancer last year. And you think any of them would bother to call me or talk to me? No. I had 1 cousin that texted me 2 or 3 times over the summer, let me know that she's praying for me. And that was the extent of that. So they want nothing to do with me, and that's because they have had their children threatened. How do I know this? Because that's the MO for my isolation. My mom's dad was an evil SOB. I've had a handful of people
tell me directly they've had their children threatened and they're not going to talk to me anymore. And I've had a handful of people tell me through innuendo that they've had their children threatened, and then they just stopped returning my calls or my texts or my emails. My second wife, who disappeared one day, I was out for the evening, come back, she was gone. I come to find out that I had a business at the time. I come to find out that she had committed thousands of dollars in credit card fraud against my customers, and she was telling people that I used to beat her up, and she just disappeared. That was early 2013. So fast forward to 2016, mid-year, so at this point it had been, probably about a little over 3 years since I've seen or heard from her. She calls me up out of the blue and she's crying. And she begs me not to hang up on her. And she starts off by telling me that I was a good husband and I was a good father to her son. And she's really sorry that she did what she did. But she had to do what she did because her son's life was threatened. And then she told me I need to be careful because there are very, very bad people who are after me. And she begged me to be careful. She was crying throughout the conversation. And we spoke for a minute. And then she hung up. So that's standard operating procedure. And my mom admitted to as such when she confessed what she did to me about putting me in this program. They sold me as a sacrifice, according to my mom, when I was a young boy to the Satanic Church. And she told me, I need to be careful. She said, Tommy, you need to be careful. They will kill you. They will kill you, Tommy. Be careful. I beg you, please be careful. They will kill you. And I didn't have the heart to tell her about the many attempts I've had in my life over the years. She was weak. She was old. She was dying from stomach cancer. I just heard her out. And she also told me not to trust my sister, that if my sister were to help me, it's my niece that would get whacked. So in the movies, when you see movies about the mob, you cross the mob and they come after you. They break your kneecaps or maybe they'll put a bullet in the back of your head. Well, that's not how it works in real life. The way it works in real life is they keep you in line by threatening your children or threatening someone very close to you. Because many of us would say, fine, I crossed you, do what you got to do. If you want to take me out, just leave my family alone. And they know, they keep people in line by having family members be the target of their evil. So that's how that works. Don't believe the hype you see in movies. That's all make-believe. In real life, they don't go after you to keep you in line. They go after someone close to you. I mean, think about it. If you're a parent and someone wants to hurt your child, you would say, no, hurt me instead. Don't hurt my child. Hurt me instead. And that's how that works. So yeah, I am 100% isolated, and I've connected a lot of dots over the years. I am 55 years old, and I've learned that I'm also the victim of what's called the Masonic Silent Dagger treatment. The Silent Dagger treatment. What is that? many of the people that I thought were my friends, I did have a few friends, true friends, but they were, like I said, had their kids threatened. Many of the people that I thought were my friends made a point of becoming my friend, only to screw me over later in life. Masonic silent dagger. When I needed them, they weren't there for me. In fact, they caused me problems. So it's a disgusting system. And one interesting note is I was offered an opportunity to be removed from this targeting program. This occurred in about 2010, 2011. And at that time, I had my own business. I published a newspaper in Los Angeles County called The Political Observer. And this guy in the community calls me up and tells me what a great job I'm doing and likes reading my paper. Tell him thanks, and he started making a habit of calling me every week or so. Always wanted to call me and talk. And one day, after we were talking for a month or two, he invites my wife and I over to his house for dinner with he and his wife. And takes me back in the garage. And just he and I are there, and we're drinking some beer. And he starts telling me things about the Masons he shouldn't be telling me. The Masons have been trying to recruit me. They've been trying to recruit me since I was a young man. Since I was 19, I went into the Army. It's a lie when they say they don't recruit. They recruit. And this was their final attempt, the story I'm telling you now. There comes a duck. Look at that. And he's telling me things such as, some of the things he told me I knew about already, some I didn't. He told me about the good guy discount. If you ever hear someone refer to someone else as, yeah, he's a good guy. Oh, do you know Bob? He's a good guy. Oh, Jimmy, he's a good guy. That's code for he's a Mason. They call one another good guys. It's a play on words. There's a movie called Goodfellas. That's a play on words for good guys, just gangsters. And he told me about the good guy discount, which I knew about. And that is, you know, say you're in town and you go to the ice cream store and it's independently owned, and a triple scoop sundae cost $8. It says $7.99. Well, that's the price for the profane. They call non-Masons profane people, the profane. If you're a good guy, you get the good guy discount. It's not $7.99. It's much cheaper. And that goes at the auto mechanic shop, wherever you go. If you're a Mason and you go to a store, establishment owned by a Mason, you get the good guy discount. So I'm playing stupid, act like I never knew such a thing. I said, wow, good guy discount, huh? And then he tells me that being a Freemason means never losing in court, because Freemasons don't take one another to court. If there's a civil trial, they handle it internally. And if there is a Mason in court, the opposing party is not a Freemason, but rest assured that the judge is. And being a Freemason means never losing in court. I said, wow, that sounds exciting. And after I heard him out, I asked him a question that I ask over the years of other Masons that tried to recruit me. I said, why would I want to join an organization that does to people what you people have done to me. Screw me over in life. And he tells me, well, you don't need to participate in that if you don't want to. And I said, well, that's not true, because your rules state that a Mason will always come to the aid of his brethren Mason. And the example I give him is, if I'm walking along the street and I'm about to cross the street at a corner and I witness a car accident and I see who clearly is at fault, and that person happens to be a Mason, and I give him the high sign, he gives me the high sign, I need to back his story that it's the other person's fault, despite what I saw with my own two eyes. And this man said, yes, that's right. We stand by one another, and we always back our brethren. I said, well, why would I want to join an organization that does something like that screws people over? And he didn't have a good answer. Well, at the end of the evening, after our back and forth and after dinner, oh, let me tell you, a lot of these Masons are perverts. The men have what's called the fun house. If you got anyone in your family who's a Freemason, ask him if he goes to the fun house. Ask him about the fun house. And be sure to ask him about the fun house while his wife or girlfriend is standing there. He won't like that. The Masons have a rule that you could sleep around with other women behind your wife's back as long as that woman does not come from a Masonic family or is married to a Mason or the daughter of a Mason, etc., etc., etc. So a lot of perverts in Freemasonry as well. So at the end of the evening, you know, these people like symbolism, love symbolism. So he's walking me out and he stops me in the doorway of his front door, right in the doorway. I'm not outside, I'm not inside, we're in the arch of the doorway. And he puts his hand on his shoulder to stop me. And he says to me, almost word for word, this is seared in my memory, he says to me, you have 90 days to make your way down to the Masonic Lodge on Beach Street and ask to join. If you do, your problems are over and your business is going to prosper. You'll have more ad revenue than you'll know what to do with it. If you do not go down there within 90 days and ask to join, you will be destroyed. And I said to him, thanks for the information. And I walked out. I didn't go down there and join. About 90 days passed, and all hell started breaking loose. I had the car that I was driving rigged to catch on fire. I get in there one morning. I worked from home, so I didn't drive much. Get in there in the morning to go to the store. I started up and I smell gas really bad. And I said, this isn't good, so I drove it to my mechanic. Luckily, it was cool outside and the mechanic was very close by. Because after he looked at it, he called me back and he showed me how I had a corroded O-ring on the line that brings the fuel into the engine. And he told me that fuel was dripping onto my engine block so badly that once that engine heated up, it would have burst into flame and probably explode, and I would have been dead. And I said, wow, close call. And he gives me I said, let me have that O-ring, a little green O-ring. And then after that, a few months later, someone shot through the sliding glass door window going to the backyard of where I lived. And when I was out there cleaning up the glass, when the glass man was there, replacing the glass, what do I see on the ground? I see a little O-ring. They're sending me a message. And then at that time, I had a cargo van I used to deliver my newspapers. And after my newspaper run, I had the pallets and all the trash back there, the plastic wrap. And on a weekend, I went out there to clean it out. And what do I find on the floor of the van? You guessed it, another O-ring. And that's when my wife, the one who I told you about earlier, who committed credit card fraud against my customer and told me that her son was threatened, she started drinking heavily. And she was drunk almost every day for a good 5, 6, 7 months. And now I know why. They were threatening her son and she didn't know what to do. We got someone walking up over here, so we'll turn back around. So yeah, they play hardball with me. I've also had a bolt on my axle. I used to own a Hyundai, one of those real tiny cars. That's all I can afford at the time. And I had a noise. Coming from the front right wheel. And see this guy, see if he's a perp. He's just standing there acting stupid. So I took my car in to get an oil change. And I said to the guy, hey, I've got a noise coming from the right front rear well. If you could check it out for me when you're changing the oil, I'd appreciate it. How you doing? And so he's changing the oil, and I'm out there waiting. And after a bit, he comes out, and his eyes are as big as saucers, like he just saw a ghost. And he said, man, you had a bolt that holds that axle on loosened, and it was working its way out. And had that bolt fallen out when you were on the freeway, that right front side of the axle would have come off and you'd have been dead. Good thing you came in here to have me look at that. Yeah. So I got all sorts of neat stories like that. These people want to take me out and make it look like an accident. And then when I was living in Las Vegas, which I don't recommend any TI go to, that place is Sodom and Gomorrah, man. Las Vegas is Sodom and Gomorrah. A lot of meth heads out there. It's the Walking Dead. They're like zombies. And when I would drive on the freeway, trucks would have a habit, not every truck, of course, but too many for it to be just a coincidence. But they would have a habit of moving over into my lane while I was passing them. So I learned real quick to make sure I have a lane between myself and a truck when I had to pass. I would never pass them on the next lane over. Yeah, fun. So thankfully, thus far I've survived. I believe it's God's hand at work. Oh, it's getting windy. I bet that's messing up the microphone. Let's go over here and sit down out of the wind. And so how bad is it? This is how I know it's God's hand at work. As I mentioned at the beginning of this live stream, I was diagnosed with cancer about a year ago. And so the VA kept dragging their feet, getting me set up for my cancer treatment. Just kept dragging their feet. I had to get what's called an Eligard shot before I started my radiation treatment. And they put me into what's called care in the community. That means I did not get my radiation treatment at the VA. I hope this wind is not messing up the microphone. Let me know. Could someone tell me if the Joke on the boss. Trauma-based. Bird Friederman. Sound like Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell. Boss. Joke on the boss. Ha. Yeah. Thanks, boss. It's very funny, boss. Make sure you scratch your head, boss. So, I had to go to a place called Hartford Radiation Clinic. And so I do my consultation. And before I could start my radiation treatment, I have to get an Eligard shot. So that's their responsibility to call the VA and set that up. So they said, we're going to take care of that today after my consultation. So I called them up the next day and said, well, you got my shot scheduled? And the lady said, no, I had to leave a message with the doctor at the VA. They should call me back today. I said, okay. Next day I call up. Did you hear back from the VA? It's a true story. And I know I haven't heard back yet. I'm going to call them again today. This pattern continued throughout the full week. So the following Monday I call up and I say, hey, did you get a hold of the VA yet? No, I left them another message. And I said to myself, this happens one more time, I'm just going to call them myself and set everything up. So the next day I called back up, and the lady I was dealing with happened to be on vacation, so I'm told. And the lady that was taking her place said, gee, I can't call the VA for you because I can't, the person who you were dealing with didn't leave any notes for me or any instructions. You have to wait till she comes back in the week. So I said, okay, no problem. So I went and called the VA myself and set up the appointment for my Eligard shot so I could start my treatment. And I mentioned to them that the radiation center had been calling all week last week and the first part of this week leaving messages saying you're not returning the call. And the VA doctor's office tells me we haven't received a single call from Hartford Radiation. Not a single call to set up your shot. So I'm getting two different stories, right? So I make the appointment, get the shot done, start my radiation treatment. It's every morning for 9 weeks, and you can see on my YouTube channel, I have examples of the perps briding me as I pull in, and people filming me from office windows. And it got to the point where, you know, Satanists, they like to wear black and red. Them's their colors, black and red. So I'm waiting in the waiting room, and this is early on in the radiation treatment, and the guy comes in wearing black and red, and he walks up to the receptionist who claims she always called the VA but didn't, and he whispers something to her, turns around and walks out. And she's got this evil smirk on her face while she's looking at me. And from that point on, every morning I'd walk in, she'd do the old head scratch. She wouldn't call me boss. She didn't call me boss, but she did the head scratch. Morning. Doing well. How you doing today? Yeah, it's a great day today. Happy Easter. And so, of course, I made sure she didn't get the drop on me when I walked in. I'd walk into the radiation clinic scratching my head, smirking at her. But of course, she scratched her head back. And then, of course, the technicians, the ladies who ran the radiation machine, I'd catch them filming me after my treatment. You know, you got to buckle up your pants and put your clothes on and gather your things. I'd see them filming me. As we all know, as TIs, we get filmed. And then on my way out, the doctor would scratch his head. And then towards the end, it was 9 weeks of radiation. Now here's how I know God had a hand in my healing. about 3 weeks out, with 3 weeks to go, if any of you had cancer and you had to go through radiation, they tattoo you so they know where to aim the radiation on your body. So when you lay down on the table, they have to adjust you. Shift you left, shift you right, shift you up, shift you down to make sure you're lined up with that laser. Well, the last 3 weeks I was there, they weren't lining me up. And I didn't hear that radiation machine make any noise. And it didn't move. It would rotate. It'd get you from one angle, zap you with the radiation, where the cancer's at, and it's a robot. Then it'll move over to a different angle and zap you with radiation there for a few minutes, and then move to a different angle. The whole treatment was maybe 8-10 minutes, but it would move 3 or 4 times. Stop moving. So they stopped lining me up, and the machine stopped moving, didn't make any noise. So after a few days of that, I said to the technician, I said, hey, you're not lining me up when I lay down, and that machine's not making any noise. What's going on? Oh, you're laying down perfect every time, and that machine is on. We're operating it. So it's a matter of my word against hers, and we all know how that goes. And then the last 3 weeks as well, have to have your bladder full. I had prostate cancer. So you got to have a full bladder, and they're able to tell if the bladder's full. So after treatment, they tell me, okay, your bladder was full, you were good. So I decided the last week, I'm going to go in there with an empty bladder. I'm not going to drink any water on the way in, and see what they say. And the entire last week, sure enough, hey, how was my bladder? Oh, your bladder was full, you were good, you're doing a good job, drinking plenty of water. That's how I knew they were just full of shit. My bladder was empty, that machine wasn't moving. And thing is, I'm not afraid to die. I'm not afraid of death. I'm a born-again Christian. I got baptized in 1999. Best thing that ever happened to me. And so I wasn't fearing death because I know where I'm going when I die. I figured that's my fate. But when I was on that radiation machine, all 9 weeks, I kept hearing my mom and my dad, who were both dead. And they're both telling me, it's not your time yet. It's not your time. You're going to make it through it. It's not your time. You're going to make it through it. Here we go. What is she doing on her phone? And so I know that the last 3 weeks of my treatment that, hello, how you doing? Nice puppy. Yeah. Look at that puppy. Can you see the puppy? A little puppy walking by. So it's not that I wanted to die. I just wasn't afraid of dying. But, the radiation machine didn't move. They didn't line me up. I went there with an empty bladder the last week. And so I figured, okay, I'm going to just accept the news that the treatment wasn't successful. So I had a very aggressive form of cancer. On a scale of 1 to 10, it was an 8. And a highly aggressive form of cancer. So my radiation treatment ended beginning of November. And I had my next doctor appointment at the VA in January to get a blood test. Follow up a few days later with the doctor to get the results. They want to check my PSA levels. PSA level should be 4 or less. For all the men listening, I highly recommend once you hit 50, probably 40 might be a good idea, but if you're 50 years old or older and you haven't had a PSA test, get a PSA blood test. Prostate cancer is highly curable. They've come a long way in treating it. So my PSA was above 10 when I discovered my cancer. My Gleason scale was an 8. Those are two different scores. The Gleason scale goes up to 10 for aggressiveness of the cancer, and PSA can go up very high, but you want it below a 4. So I tested at a 10 point something when they discovered my cancer, and so I get my blood test January the 17th. My doctor's appointment is the 21st, and I'm expecting bad news. I'm expecting, well, the treatment didn't work. Your PSA is still well above 4. You only got so many months to live. Cancer's probably spread. We're going to do a CAT scan. So you ready for this? What was my PSA reading? It goes from above a 10. Now remember, it's got to be down below 4. The doctor tells me, are you ready for the news for your PSA reading? And I said, yes, sir, give it to me. I'm ready. He said, your PSA was a 0.25. 1/4%. Now, the fact that these creeps at the radiation clinic stopped treating me 3 weeks out, and for my cancer to go down like that, that to me was divine intervention. And I'm very spiritual. I'm very close with Jesus. This didn't happen because of my targeting. This didn't happen because of my cancer. I was baptized as an adult. It's been almost 25 years. It's been 24 years. And like I said, when I was on that table getting the radiation treatment, or supposedly getting the radiation treatment, I kept hearing my mom and dad tell me, you're okay. You're okay. You're going to make it. It's not your time. You have nothing to worry about. And if you read, if you bother to get my book, I don't make a lot of money off the book. The book is $17. It's only like 55 pages. Just covers my childhood from as far back as I can remember, which is 3 years old, up to the time I turned 19 and joined the Army. And I'm working on book 2 now. That covers my adulthood. But the book is $17, and my cut is only a few bucks on each book. It all goes to publishing costs. Self-publishing on Amazon, they got to get their cut. But it's called Targeted Tommy, son of a Satanist and child of MK Ultra. So I tell a story at the beginning of the book. Shortly after my dad died. My dad died a few years before my mom. They were divorced. My mom was remarried. And my dad never had a driver's license. He was born and raised in New York City. Came out to Southern California when he was in his early 20s, and he never bothered to get his license. Either took a cab to get to work, or got a ride, or took the bus. He always managed to get where he needed to go. And so later on in life, the last 2 or 3 years before he died, and he was getting up there in age, I'd pick him up and take him to the store. And there was a particular store he liked to go to. And I tell a fantastic story about how after he died, about a year after he died, I was at that same store, and his spirit came to me and let me know it was him, and he started talking to me when I was at home. And yeah, you have to read it. It's make a long story short without blowing it for you. Don't want to give you a spoiler alert, but my mom's parents, they are burning in hell. And you know, if you don't believe in heaven and hell and Jesus, God, and the Holy Spirit and Satan, that's fine. That's your business. I'm not gonna. I was like that once too, but now I cannot deny that it's all real. And they went to hell, and I'm convinced that's what convinced my mom to confess to me. She was old and sick, and I think she heard her parents coming to her, warning her, doesn't look good for her when she dies, that she doesn't want to end up where they're at. And I remember her one day asking me, I was staying with her for a couple weeks. The book explains how I ended up at my mom's house. I basically left Los Angeles for my life. She asked me where I took my dogs for a walk, and I told her, and the very next day she said, "Hey, I'm going to go for a walk with you." This is an old lady, sick, dying, and she knew better not to talk in the house, because as she put it, you never know who's listening with recording devices. And that's when she come clean and spilled the beans that she and her parents, who were Satanists, sold me as a child as a sacrifice to the Satanic Church. And I need to watch my ass because they will kill you, Tommy, as she said. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this live stream, I didn't have the heart to tell her about all the attempts I had in my life. I'm sure it would have put her in an even earlier grave. But it's a good book. It's a good read. If you do buy it, I just ask one favor. If you could please leave a book review at the books page on Amazon. That would help me out. And it's, you could read it in it's like I said, it's under 60 pages. Take you maybe a minute or two per page, so it's only take you a couple hours to read. And I'm working on book 2, and I hope to have that done sometime by summer. And so yeah, then I do have a guardian angel. His name is Len. He was a friend of the family. He was murdered when I was about 15 or 16, and he was always very nice to me. My mom was rotten towards me growing up. You read about that in the book. And so he died, and I had a few attempts on my life in the Army. And I heard his voice. We were going down the tank trail in armored vehicles. And for those of you who are familiar with armored vehicles with the main gun on it, you have a turret, and I was the gunner. And you had the commander to the right sticking out his hatch and me sticking out the gunning hatch, and we're going down the tank trail. And the commander tells me to turn around and cover the rear. So I turn around and I face to the rear, and I'm thinking to myself, this is odd because we were not the last track in the convoy. It's the last vehicle that faces the rear, but I turned the entire turret around. He just wanted me to turn around. So just maybe 10, 15 seconds into it, I hear Len's voice tell me, "Tommy, turn around now. Turn around, Tommy. Turn around now." And as I'm turning around, I see the commander dropping down inside his hatch, and I come full forward, and there's a low-hanging, very thick tree branch coming right at me. And I just had a second to drop down and not have it hit me. Had I not turned around, it would have cut me in two. And I had a few other incidents in the Army with this same person trying to set me up to be killed in an accident. And then here in Columbia, Connecticut, just up the road here, this road here, you can see the cars there. I was getting up one morning, this was last year, just after my cancer treatment ended. And I like to get up bright and early before the sun comes up, and I do my morning prayers. Then I like to take my dog to the dog park or take her here for a walk, and I like to leave just before first light. I like to get where I'm going just at first light, not sunrise, first light, when the eastern sky just starts to lighten up. So I get in my car, I got the dog there, and the car's warming up, and I'm about to put the car in gear and drive off, and I hear Len's voice saying, "Wait, Tommy, wait, not yet, wait, 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 wait. Okay, you can go now." And I knew it was him, so I listened. And I get in the car and I go down the road. It's one lane each direction. It's a road with lots of curves. And sure enough, I'm going around a curve, and there was a tractor trailer in the oncoming lane, and there was a big pickup truck trying to pass him. And he's coming right at me going around the curve. And I yank my steering wheel to the right, pull off onto the shoulder, hit the brakes, just missed a head-on collision. And I take a look in front of me where I pulled off, and the shoulder, another 12, 15 feet ahead of me, the shoulder ended. Had I been a second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds ahead, there'd have been no shoulder for me to pull off on, and I would have went head on with a nice big pickup truck. And I would have been on the losing end of that, and I probably would have been dead. So there is an afterlife. There is a heaven and a hell. No one's going to tell me otherwise. We do have guardian angels. It is Easter weekend. Those of you who are on the fence, those of you who have not been saved, those of you who don't know God or Jesus, this is a fine weekend to change your life. Are you able to own a home or keep a job? The perps have worked years to make me homeless. I am able to afford to put a roof over my head. I freelance. I'm a writer. I don't make a lot of money at all. What I make from freelancing here and there would not be able to pay my rent or buy me food. I am able to put a roof over my head because I have a VA disability payment that I get every month from the Army. And without that, I would be living in my car. So thank God for my VA disability. Now I stay in motels. I no longer rent an apartment. I haven't had an apartment since 2021 when I left Las Vegas. Because wherever I go, this is an ugly, ugly thing, but this is what happens to me. Wherever I go, the rumor gets started that I'm a pedophile, which I am not. And I've learned over the years that there are many TIs who are men who are faced with the same thing. I don't know if it's through Neighborhood Watch or the local police or the local Masonic Lodge, but I'd move into an apartment and everything's great for about 3 weeks or so. All the neighbors are friendly, and then one day out of nowhere, you say, "Hey, Steve, good morning, how you doing today?" And old Steve, instead of saying, "Good morning, how are you doing today?" he says, "Pedophile, wife beater, pedophiles need to die, you pedophile." Or if they don't call me a pedophile directly, they want to work that into the conversation. "Bobby, how's it going, man? How about them Raiders? You check out that game?" Man, I hate pedophiles, man. Nothing worse in this world than a pedophile. Pedophiles need to die. And people look at me like they want to kill me, and I know people take matters into their own hands, and if the police are involved, many police are Masonic. Don't kid yourself, I had a police officer many, many years ago messing with me, smirking, and he says, 9 out of 10 of us are good guys. Yeah, okay, I get the message. So yeah, without my VA money, I'd be living in my car. But thank God I get my VA disability pension, because without it, I'd be on the street. And I have learned that I will not get a roommate for anything, because I've learned the hard way over the years, as I'm sure many of you know this, whether you're a TI or a perp that's listening, that there are many perps that pretend to be TIs. And I've gotten very astute at looking for the signs. They call it Duper's Delight. duper's delight. They like to give clues. That's what they like to do. They like to give clues to see if you pick up on them. But yeah, very few TIs that I've spoken with have turned out to be legitimate TIs. And when I was in Las Vegas, that's when my stalking went overt. When I moved out there, and so I looked up websites and found an organization called PACTS, if you're familiar with it, PACTS. That's a perp organization, by the way, and that's another story for another time. But I know that for a fact, that PACTS is a perp organization. But I didn't know it then. They had a roster of TIs, and so I went to their Nevada page and started contacting local TIs in the area, and many of them turned out to be perps. They would gaslight me, perp me, try to set me up. I had a lot of break-ins when I was in Las Vegas. I had my dog's food was poisoned. She got sick. I had to stop buying bags of food that were large. That way, if I had to throw it out, I wouldn't be losing too much money. So now I buy the small bags. But she ate one day and she got sick, started throwing up, and I poured another bowl of food. She smelled it and turned away, so I had to buy a fresh bag. And we were good for a short while, and then one day she gets sick again and throws up, and she won't touch the food. And then I had my orange juice drugged. I think they put meth in it. You know, I don't know about you other men, but as for me, many of us, we like to drink right out of the container, whether it's milk or orange juice. So I had some orange juice that was in a clear container, like a Tropicana, not in the cardboard carton, but the clear plastic. And drinking out of the container one morning, I start feeling really weird, really amped up. I said, wow, what's going on? This isn't right. And I take a close look at my orange juice, and there's this white sticky substance along the sides inside of the container. And I said, oh man, they put some meth or some crack or something in my orange juice. I didn't sleep for a couple of days after that. And then I stopped, I was only there about a month and a half, and then I stopped leaving my apartment. Thank God for the pandemic and home delivery of groceries from Walmart. I had everything ordered and brought to my door, and didn't leave sight of my front door for a little over 6 months. So I was able to save some money and get out of there. And the reason is, the last time I left, I come back and someone had gotten in there. They stole some of my property, and I noticed this white, sticky, powdery substance on the carpet along the baseboards, on my counter. So they had gone in there and put meth all around, I guess maybe to kill my dog. Or, you know how they are, they'll set you up with the police, and if the police come in, if I were to call the police about the theft, they'd see it, that's a mandatory arrest. And so I stopped leaving my place. And then just a few weeks after that, had to grab a pen, a new pen out of my drawer. Pen I was using right out of ink. And I go to the drawer and I pull out a pen and I said, hey, I haven't seen this pen before. Where'd this come from? I pick the pen up. Okay. I start writing with it, and the thing breaks in my hand. It was very brittle. And what was inside the pen? More white powdery stuff like crack or meth, real sticky. And I said, oh boy, I need to get out of here. And so I was finally able to get out of there by September of 2021. Black and red. Could mean nothing, could mean something. Another thing they like to do is they like to leave pennies. There's one guy on YouTube, I forget his name, 5,000 miles or something. He travels all over the country and he stopped everywhere he goes. They like to use bobby pins, hairpins. With me, they like to leave pennies. I'll come out in the morning to get in my car and go somewhere. There'll be a penny right next to my tire. Or open the door and there's a penny on the mat outside the door. And, when I was in Las Vegas, like the pen incident, I was going through the kitchen door to get a new rag out to wash dishes with, and it was the last rag. And I pulled the rag out, and someone had glued a penny to the bottom of the drawer. So these are the things they do. So I'm just vigilant, got eyes in the back of my head, not afraid to die, but I am on the offensive. I walk into a store before the clerk can get a word out of their mouth. Afternoon, boss. How you doing, boss? Nice day, boss. And I'll be scratching my head while I'll do it. Just get the jump on them. I've got the Puerto Rican flag on my dashboard. And if you watch this video, if you came online with me in the beginning, you'll see that black car with the red trim pulled into the motel last night. And what's he got hanging from his rear view mirror? Puerto Rican flag. And I told the story at the beginning of the video of the young man that lives at the motel with his grandparents that own it. He's got the Puerto Rican flag. So I get that a lot. So maybe when we get back up to our car here shortly, there might be a car or three parked next to mine with the Puerto Rican flag on the dashboard. So it's just psychological warfare, psychological games they play. But it doesn't bother me. It used to really bother me, as I'm sure with many of you when you first figured out. Stay safe. They have used that boss with me and stay safe. Yeah, I get stay safe all the time. Whenever I make a phone call to my bank, or Amazon always messes up my orders, and I got to call my credit card company, or any business that I have to call, even my doctor's office, the receptionist, they always tell me stay safe instead of goodbye. So what I do now is, for instance, when I call Amazon and they say, thank you for being a Prime member, and my name is Michelle, who am I speaking with? I say, hey, Michelle, this is Targeted Tommy. How are you doing today, Michelle? And then, of course, Michelle will say, she's having a great day. Thanks for asking. And if she asks me how I'm doing, I'll tell her I'm staying safe. If she doesn't ask me how I'm doing, because sometimes they don't, I'll just say, hey, thanks for asking. I'm staying safe. It's important to stay safe. And whenever they got to put me on a hold, which no matter who I call, the bank or whoever, always got to get put on hold when you're a TI and got to put you on a brief hold. Is that okay? Oh, no problem. I'll stay safe. I'll stay safe. And then when they get back on, thank you for holding. I'm here. I'm still safe. So yes, I have gone on the offensive with these people. For a good 2 years after my targeting went overt, it really used to freak me out bad. And I tell the story in my previous live video of the very first TI I ever spoke with, who ironically turned out to be legitimate. And she's the one who told me they can't rob you of your joy. They're going to film you. They're going to follow you. They're going to harass you. They're going to stalk you. They're going to play psychological warfare games like the boss and the stay safe. Don't let them rob you of your joy. And I didn't follow her advice at first because I was just too freaked out. But now I have fun with it. Got to call my bank. I'm staying safe. It doesn't matter whether they ask me or not. I'm staying safe. What do we got here? Let's let the dog get some waters. Get your water, Mama. So, boss and stay safe. That's my big ones. And it doesn't matter who I call. Targeted Truth Finder. I'm a female, been in the program for 25 years. I think it's disgusting that they target females. I think it's disgusting they target anyone, but, you know, I mean, to target a female is pretty low. It's like targeting a child. Oh, she's thirsty today. Get that water, mamas. Get that fresh, clean water. So yeah, this is a medical service dog. Not an emotional support dog. She's a legitimate service dog for my PTSD. And she does a good job. I had to go to the emergency room Tuesday night. I had a really bad headache. My feet were going numb. And I checked my blood pressure. And it was like almost 160 over 120. And I said, this isn't good. So I went to the emergency room. And while I'm laying there on the gurney, the dog jumps up on the gurney because she knows I'm stressed out. And the doctor said, that dog can't be up there on that gurney. I said, oh, she's just doing her job, doc. But I had to get her down. But my blood pressure was pretty good today. I checked it before I left. It's down to 128 over, I think it was 89. So what did I do this week? I cut out the caffeine. I love drinking my tea, but tea has a lot of caffeine. So I cut out the tea. I'm not smoking cigarettes. And I've been drinking pomegranate juice. Pomegranate juice helps lower blood pressure. So, and it looks good. And I'm walking a little more exercise. But anyway, all you men out there that are listening, yep, no animals left. They stole one cat right out of my apartment. I go through the food tampering. Wow. I'm reading the comments. Is damaged, clothing especially. Yeah, food tampering is a big one. Fortunately for me, one nice thing about living in a motel is got a very tiny refrigerator. So I go to the store every several days. And I won't go through fast food anymore. I've gotten sick one too many times. I mean, hell, I'll be driving between here and there in a town I haven't been through before. And go to a McDonald's, and sure enough, I get sick after I eat. So I stop the fast food. I don't order pizza. None of that. Let's see if we have a Puerto Rican flag in any car here. The only hope we have as TIs is to, and I don't know how to do this, but the only hope is to find a legitimate TI, find two legitimate TIs. The only way to stay safe, truly, well, I hate to use that term, stay safe, but that I've thought of, is needs to be 3 TIs that need to share an apartment together, and there's 1 TI always at home, and then when it's time to shop, 2 TIs go. 1 TI stays with the vehicle so it doesn't get tampered with. 1 TI goes in and does the shopping. That TI comes out, the other TI goes in, comes back out, you drive home, a new TI stands guard at the unit, and repeat the process. But who do you trust? I have a saying that at best we have a 99%. At the very most, I don't see how we could trust anyone 100%, because that's counterintelligence. That's how the program works. That's how it works. There we got a black and red, probably nothing. I get the cars with the missing hubcap. I'm sure y'all get that too. I get the cars with the really shiny rims. That's been going on now for about a week. And what was really neat, which I enjoyed, is this started right after my cancer treatment ended. And this went on for a couple months. It was like a parade of black vehicles that would drive by my unit. I mean, it was completely obvious that it was not the norm. It would be black vehicle after black vehicle after black vehicle. An English setter. I don't know what those dogs look like. But the black car parade has stopped. It stopped a few months back, but it went on for about a few months. And now they're doing the shiny hubcaps. It's like they got a special type of hubcap that's really shiny. And they just drive by one after the other. One after the other. Now, when I get to my car, I always check for nails or anything that could puncture my tires. I had that problem in Los Angeles. I learned real quick. And I went out and bought one of these. Magnet on a stick. Pick up any nails I might not see. Yeah, these people are disgusting, so, you know, we just have to be vigilant. Gotta be vigilant. Gotta be vigilant. Got tired of getting tires plugged. All right. So that's the only solution I see. You got to find other TIs. They got to be legitimate. And here's what they do to my car too. You can see the. Can you see the scratches? There we go. There's the scratches. See, they key my car. I like to key my car up. And then you can see the damage here. This happens a lot. I'll go into the store and I'll come out and lo and behold, I got damage to the paint. Get on up. So let's see here. That was a nice walk. Yeah, there was a time when I was really freaked out and didn't leave my house unless I have to. It's 11:36 here on the East Coast. I think I'm going to go to the grocery store.
The grocery store with me. I think that'll be fun. Grocery store is a lot of fun. I get people who follow me around. They don't have a cart and they don't buy anything. They just end up at the same aisle I'm in. And they stand there and look at a product. And then I move over to the next aisle. And then, lo and behold, there they are again. So I've learned how to have fun with that. And what I do is I start following them. Yeah, I've gone on the offensive. That's the only way to do it, is you got to go on the offensive. That's what I recommend. If you're a TI, go on the offensive. Don't be aggressive. Don't be violent. I'm nonviolent. I don't put my hands on anyone. I don't cuss at anyone. Completely non-aggressive, but passive-aggressive stuff. They want to follow me around with cars with Puerto Rican flags. I'll get a Puerto Rican flag. They want to call me boss. Whoa, rough road. Look at that. I'll call them boss. They want to scratch their head. I'll scratch my head. Stuff like that. They want to follow me around in the supermarket. By golly, I'll follow them around in the supermarket. So I need a few things. Let's head on into the supermarket together. And then I encourage TIs to live stream. Oh, another thing I get is Texas license plates and Florida license plates. I get those all the time. Oh, he made me miss that light. Store looks packed. There's got to be at least one perp in there. I'll take you along with me to the store. We should have some fun. So I don't make appointments. Like when I got to get my oil changed, I learned the hard way never to make an appointment, because that way they know I'm coming, because all our communications are monitored, and they mess up my car one way or another. The very last time I made an appointment to get my oil changed, when the car was finished, the mechanic says, "Oh, I see you got a heated steering wheel. I love that feature on a car." And this was in the dead of winter in New Hampshire. I didn't make anything of it. Well, the reason why he said it is I put the steering wheel heater on because it was cold, and he did something with the wiring or the gauge, because the steering wheel got so hot it almost burned my hand. So I couldn't use my steering wheel heater. I had to wait till I was out and about and find a mechanic's shop that didn't have any cars in there and pop in real quick, see if they had a minute to look at my steering wheel heater and fix it for me. Hey, you knock it off, man. He doesn't like other dogs. You leave that dog alone, Mama. So I get Texas and Florida license plates. My VA doctor is in New Hampshire. I'm in Connecticut temporarily, and I had an appointment with him on Monday, and it's a 2-hour ride up there. And sure enough, two Texas plates and one Florida plate. And one thing I noticed with the Texas plates, they often have an M, like a mom, and an H in their license plate. M and an H. And then the Florida plates oftentimes have a K. So let's go see what kind of perps are in here in the supermarket. So we'll go into the supermarket, do some shopping. Maybe we'll have some fun. I kind of like this live streaming. It's very therapeutic. And I always do the self-checkout. I've got some good video of me being stalked in the market, but it's when I had camera glasses, and the video's got to be 30 minutes long, and there's only a few instances that I want to highlight, so I don't know how to edit videos yet. So I got to research that. I have a video editor from Windows, but I haven't had the time to edit it.
So I don't use camera glasses anymore because they end up malfunctioning after I have them for a week. I'm convinced they're using some sort of energy to make them malfunction. I've given up. I think I've gone through at least a half a dozen pair in the past 3 or 4 months. So now I just use my camera phone. Oh, I didn't turn my tires. Oh well. All right. So let's see, we got a few vehicles that were here already with their tires turned, which is no big deal. But when I come out of the store, it's not unusual to have a handful of cars around me that weren't there when I went in that have their tires turned. Let's see here. It's going to be busy in here. Should be a perp-rich opportunity. Should be lots of perps in here today. Let's go find the perps, Mom. This is handy. Got here, we got a cup holder. Oh, how handy. How handy is that? Beautiful. So I don't need to hold this now. Got lucky with the cup holder. Beautiful. I got to look for this card all the time. Excuse me.
circle back around the same aisle twice, see if anybody's handy. So far, so good.
Stop and shop for great deals for you and your family, so you can enjoy all your favorite recipes. Best price on ants guaranteed. You'll match any advertised ant price with no gimmicks. Talk about buttons are 2 for $10. Plus, learn 2 points.
Oh, I got one person filming me. I don't know if the camera caught him.
Yeah, and then, take it for a half hour covered, uncover it, sprinkle pops on. Yeah. Sounds amazing. It's really, like you said, I could eat it cold. Birthday. avocado. Touch the place your Haas avocado. Back 6.99. Place your item. Scan on now. 4 on 4. Scan on now. Insert coupon. How many paper bags did you use? 4, 64. 4, 63. 2.49. Well, please follow the instructions on the Please select your payment or have return to scan more items when displayed. Same process. Please follow the instructions on the pay pad. Scan 29. 1, 30. Please remember to take a receipt. 99. Next time shopping is involved. Please follow the instructions on the pay pad. Please remember to take your phone now. Thank you for shopping at Smart. Come on, paper bags and minutes. Please remember to take Thank you for shopping at your Kangaroo, 979. Please select your payment method or touch return. Scan more items or please we have your discount card. Please follow the now on the pin pad. Thank you for using your card. 4.99. 8, saving, 2, please remember to take your saving. Thank you for shopping at Dollar Shop.
Oh, what do we got there? We got a Texas. But it does not have an M or an H on it. Let's take a look. But does it have a Puerto Rican flag? Tires are turned. No Puerto Rican flag. Get on up, Mama. Oh, let's check for nails. Let's check for nails. Anything sharp. Puncture the tires. Must be vigilant. Must be vigilant. Life of a TI. What do you say, pup? Was that fun? We still got one person with us. Who's still watching here? Let's take a look. Targeted Truth Finder. I think I'm subscribed to your channel. I'm pretty sure I am. When I get home, I'll double check. I think I'm subscribed to your channel, Targeted Truth Finder. Let's patrol the parking lot real quick. Oh, there's a Puerto Rican flag. There's one. Go on. There's a Puerto Rican flag. Right there. If you could see it. There's one Puerto Rican flag hanging. You got your window open. No reason for you to be whining. You got your window open. And we've got one more stop. We got one more stop. That was interesting. If you saw the car with the light bar underneath the bumper, I've seen a few of those lately. Ah, Puerto Rican flag. You're going to wait here, mamas. You cannot come in the store. Too much glass. And we'll be right back. I got? And now it's time to go home. Eat some lunch. Well, that was fun. Had a pleasant walk along the river. Got to talk to my YouTube family. Did some shopping. Got lucky with the shopping cart with the cup holder for the phone. I got to look for that cart every time I go in there now. Looked like I saw one person filming me inside the store. And we'll be ending this video about 3-4 minutes once we get home. What are you whining about? And this is where I ran out of road. Well, I almost got hit with a head on right there. And that's a wrap.